So this is the new Corsair HS80 MAX. They didn't mess up the microphone, right? The microphone still sounds good, right? They sure made some sacrifices. So the thing is, Corsair has such a good formula with the HS80 series on their hands, just in terms of comfort, convenience, sound quality, and of course, that beautiful condenser quality microphone. This has been my go-to microphone for comparison because it's a proper condenser-like sounding device in wireless operation, which is pretty incredible. It does sound better when you plug in the USB cable to make this into a wired headset, but on the wireless department, it still holds its ground. I am so happy to know the HS80 MAX is not replacing the original HS80 wireless. They're going to live alongside each other, which is going to be for your benefit, because if you don't really care about the addition of the Bluetooth and addition of some audio features inside IQ, I would still highly recommend getting the original HS80 RGB wireless. This is still one of the most comfortable gaming headsets on the market right now. There's no excessive clamping force. We have plenty of height adjustment. You can secure the Velcro interior strap to either give you a looser fit or a tighter fit. I love the ear cushion material that gives you some sound isolation, but you can still hear a little bit of your audio environment on the exterior, which for my setting I love. And also because velour, it doesn't trap as much heat, which is fantastic for the current heat wave that's going on. The power button now has tactility versus the previous really soft button on the original. Soft. They still kept the RGB. I would advise you lower the brightness or just turn it off completely. In terms of features, the new Max model gets 3 new additions: Bluetooth, Sound ID, and actually customizable scroll click, which is, you know, underrated but so handy. So Bluetooth is awesome. You connect it to your mobile for additional listening, but it's not simultaneous connection. So you have to choose between Bluetooth listening or 2.4 GHz listening with a dongle. And the switch is instantaneous. Just click a button and you're on one or the other. Sound ID technology, in my experience with previous lower end Corsair headsets, has been actually really fantastic, and I really appreciate the inclusion of them here. For some reason, Sound ID is not being rolled out for the HS80 wireless, the original one, and that makes sense because it would make this headset absolutely obsolete. But I don't still understand why it's not something that's more widely available on headsets, but they're trying to, you know, categorize things. But Sound ID basically allows you to listen to this A/B sound effects and music or different cues and decide which one sounds better to your ears and really customize the audio to your experience, which I find to be really awesome. And you can always disable it, enable it for certain games, and for general desktop things, I found it to be really good to just enable it, listen to music, watching some YouTube videos, but then when jumping into a game, disable it for that pure direct audio representation without any coloring. The third really functional upgrade is the scroll click customization that lets you macro it to whatever you want, changing EQ presets, mouse clicks, keyboard clicks, text, you know, changing, muting the microphone, which is kind of pointless because you can just mute the microphone when putting it in the upright position. But if you look at all the macro options that are available for the voice mod, that's when things get a little suspicious, because they're clearly trying to push you towards that paid application. It's not a free application, so you can explore different voice morph effects for your voice, and etc. But it's something you'll have to pay for. Although you can record your own macro, which is very powerful, you know, with a click of a button to launch applications, to launch something inside the game. So it's good that it's there, but you can tell that they're trying to push you towards voice mod customization with that button as well.
Looking for something different from your CPU cooler? Meet Deepcool's new AK Digital series that add a retro-style digital display showing CPU usage and temperature in a straightforward but completely unique and tasteful way. With these, you get one of the most unique air cooling experiences around. The new Deepcool AK400, AK500, and AK620 digital coolers. Performance and innovation combined into awesome-looking coolers for every situation. Find them at the links below.
The Corsair HS80 MAX. Corsair, what did you do? This sounds like the microphone isn't here in front of my mouth, but it's somewhere behind me, like maybe inside the ear cup. And so it has some noise cancellation built in by default. You cannot even disable that in the software, which is bizarre. I hate when companies do that. And this is what the microphone sounds like on the new Max model after the firmware update. It definitely sounds better versus what you just heard with me recording prior the update. But it's weird that it took Corsair this long to like realize there's something wrong with the microphone. It still has noise cancellation built in, so it doesn't sound as clear and detailed like the HS80 RGB wireless. For comparison, here's the previous HS80 in the exact same environment. Definitely is cleaner, more resolution. You don't have that noise cancellation built in. It does pick up a little bit more of the background noise, but I would take this microphone over the new Max. But in terms of the mechanics of the microphone, of being really stiff and not being able to adjust it too close to your mouth is an issue, but it does mute when in the upright position. But I do appreciate the ability to adjust your gain and also microphone boost directly in IQ, so you don't have to find those settings in Windows 11. My goodness. I do love the voice prompts and the LED to let you know when you're muted or when you're rolling, but sometimes it doesn't detect when the microphone is down, so you have to kind of reset it, at least with my sample.
Charging battery.
One really bizarre omission from the new Max headset is the fact that you cannot use this in wired operation. So plugging this with a USB-C cable and going directly into the computer without the dongle installed, like, it's not gonna pop up as a device. You know, it's gonna charge the headset, but you cannot use this in wired mode, which is so bizarre. You can use the previous HS80 wireless in wired mode. Just plugging it in, it recognizes it like a USB headset. And the reason why you'd want to use this in wired mode is because the previous HS80 wireless with the cable plugged in sounds better on the microphone front. So it's just like slightly more cleaner. And just for reference, here's the microphone quality with the previous HS80 running in USB mode. So it's actually detecting it in like RGB USB headset, not wireless. And you can hear there's a little bit more definition, more clarity on the microphone quality. Now we're in wireless mode. I can disconnect the cable. As you can hear, there's slightly less definition. It still sounds pretty decent. And also I will mention that the side tone on both headsets is pretty quiet. Even when it's boosted, you don't really hear much unless you move the microphone basically into your mouth. So I was hoping that we would get a microphone upgrade with the Max when the cable is plugged in, but it doesn't work as a USB headset. It's a wireless headset only. In terms of audio performance, so this thing has quite a lot of power. At 60% volume, I am comfortable to game at. Dolby Atmos is available here and on the previous model, which is automatically detected. You do have to enable it in properties, and in doing so, you disable any ability to change your EQ presets. So like, if you're wondering why they're not being changed, you have to go into properties and go into off for your spatial audio. And for some reason, there are no voice prompts when you change EQ presets, which would have been appreciated. But for gaming, the fun factor is there with the Max. It has a slightly open sound stage. It's not too closed off. It's quite mellow on the high end, so there's no harshness, but it's also quite flat on the bass response. So in that sense, it's leading towards the neutrality of sounding things. So for competitive things, it's perfectly fine. For Battlefield, where you need to explore your positional awareness through audio, it's perfectly fine. I'm able to detect exactly where things are coming from, both in the map design and verticality as well. So in Battlefield 1, super easy to detect where people are coming from. In Battlefield 2042, that's a really interesting one because now you have additional verticality in the audio space, and the Max renders all that beautifully. Like, you don't even need a minimap to be kind of ready for an engagement and know if there's someone around the corner or not. And unless I'm getting sniped from across the map, I feel really confident wearing the Max to do any competitive stuff and just being aware of my audio environment in game. Driving in Forza Horizon felt a little bit underwhelming just because it's a little bit too flat, so you don't necessarily feel the power of the engines. Or, you know, when I go off-roading in the Bugatti, I am supposed to hear all the debris and pebbles like hitting the underside of the car, but it's kind of there, but it's not like, it's not impressive. And that's when the new Logitech headset, because of that really tight bass reproduction, it makes the audio experience so much more fun, especially for Forza, versus the Max is a little bit, I mean, it's neutral. It's good for competitive stuff, but I didn't find it super engaging because like the engine sounds don't sound powerful at all. Although I will say running through Sound ID one more time did add slightly more bass to the headset and became a little bit more fun for driving. The battery life though is very impressive, so much better versus the original. So the advertised is 60 hours, and I'm running this with RGB at like what 20%, just for a little bit of something, so I know when the headset is on and it's not sleeping. And I was going for 8 days without needing to recharge. Just make sure to plug the headset in when it first arrives to give you that 100% battery life right from the start. At least I'm happy Corsair is continuing with this ID in terms of comfort, convenience, and design. Audio quality is totally fine. I love the sound ID, but the microphone, they just dropped the ball in there. You know, maybe is it a microphone capsule situation or is it something in the software, but it just doesn't sound right. Let me know if you agree. I'm Dmitry. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.